Hey everybody, Rhadamant here. Thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of a new series of Before We Leave, which originally aired live on Twitch. So I'm going to turn on the tutorial. Yeah, I'm going to turn on the tutorial. But normally you'd have multiple difficulty settings, but it will be locked. And then number of planets, 5 works for me. I don't think we're going to be spacefaring that early. And then game seed. Ooh, I don't know. I'm just going to mash on the keyboard so you know it's something random. Okay, so yes, not preceded. JD, thanks for the bits and welcome. It's pleasant to be back. Sorry about the schedule change, but if I waited until... Well, I can stream tomorrow, but if I waited until Thursday, I would be busy. So instead of depriving you all, I decided to move it up a bit. So let me read this. In bygone times, humanity descended into bunkers to escape a galactic disaster. Only centuries later, when the cause of the calamity was forgotten, did humanity emerge. Having lost all but remnants of their past history and knowledge, they began once again on a planet born anew. Basic controls. It's finally time. After so long, your peeps have emerged from their underground shelter and are on the surface again. Hold down the right mouse button to move around your new home and zoom in and out with the mouse scroll wheel. So as you can see, it's a very small world, but let me just do the tutorial here. It will keep hijacking me. Establish village. Let's get your peeps settled in by building some roads and huts. All buildings must be placed next to an existing road. Once you're done with building, you can right-click to cancel the building you have selected. Okay, and a little reminder here. You can move the camera using the arrow keys or WASD. So this is the world. As you can see, it is called... This is Island 1. We haven't named the planet. It's a very small planet, as you can see. It's not expensive. Think micro worlds. And then this is a reminder about rotating the cameras with scroll wheel or Q and E. So let's get rid of those. And what it wants me to do here is it wants me to construct 3 huts and 3 tiles of roads. So this right here, these are peeps. These are essentially my population. Glitch, thanks for the bits as well. You cannot eat your population, Zertrana, much to your sadness. And yeah, your peeps are generally your population, and you can put them to work. And down here, we want to house the peeps. So we're going to build some huts. Now, this is the underground shelter, and this underground shelter provides population. Basically, peeps come out of there to live on the surface. And we have roads in every direction around the shelter. What we're going to want to do is establish, for lack of a better term, like a neighborhood. So I'm going to build it out here, where we have roads, and then 1, 2, and 3. What's important to note is it's in order to fully utilize the terrain that you have, you need to be conscious and you need to be strategic about where you place things, because all buildings need to be next to roads, but obviously filling everything full of roads is not very efficient. And then if I unpause, you will see these peeps get to work. Work. And they are going to be grabbing resources, specifically wood, from the shelter and building little huts for them to live in. So, here we go. Hut. And it wanted me to build 3 roads. I only built 2. So let me also build a road this direction. All right, great. While the shelter slowly produces food and water, you'll need more, and fast. It wants me to build potato fields and a well. So I'll pause once again. The potato fields give you potatoes, of course, and you can see a lot of other effects, right? Bonuses from being next to fields is additional storage, and then bonuses being next to accommodation, bonuses next to wells, bonuses, you know, what happens with pollution, you know, a penalty if it's in a rainforest or not, and weather and all that jazz. So probably the best layout here is for the potato fields to be next to one another. I'm going to build a road out like that. And then also next to the well. Something like this. It's not perfect, and I'm surely going to make a lot of mistakes, but that will be at least how we lay it out initially. And then we get to work building those potato fields in order to feed our population, which is 6. So if you take a look at these houses here, this house consumes food and water, but of course no one lives in it, so it's not doing that right now, whereas these other 2 houses are full. And we're up to 7 pop, 8 pop, and climbing. It's going to be important to keep everyone fed. All right. Now you will need a woodcutter to get wood for your buildings. Place it near some trees to get wood faster. So given my current seed, I don't actually have a good forest next to me. We have this ruined ship. What I could do is I could make the woodcutter... I could place the woodcutter sort of over in this direction so that we might be able to gain wood more quickly. The problem with that, of course, is we do have like forests in the way. So I think for now, my version 1 woodcutter, all I'm going to do is be putting the woodcutter next to, you know, 1 unit of trees. But as you can see, it does benefit the more forests are nearby. So if I put the woodcutter, I don't know, let's say here, there would be an obvious benefit. But for the sake of the tutorial, I will just slap it down anywhere I can. Mr. Chimick, welcome. Yeah, you caught the start. Alright, so here's the woodcutter. Now your peeps need to help relearning the ways of their ancestors to survive. Build an explorer's hut to gather items from heaps of ancient technology and build a library to help them learn and remember. So if you take a look here on the map, there is ancient technology laying around in sort of scrap piles, right? All over this island. And the explorer's hut will help to generate research from essentially processing those ruins, for lack of a more clear explanation. So what we're going to want to do is to place it, I'm going to place it here, and then the library I'll place here. Oh, but you've run out of stone after building the well, and now the library needs more. Let's fix that. Use the demolish tool to break up some boulders into usable stone. Select the demolish tool and click the boulders you want to remove. Demolishing boulders is hard work, so you'll have to wait while your peeps get the job done. Demolish boulders to gather 3 stone. 1, 2, and let's say 3. And this, of course, is a labor-intensive task that takes longer, as you were warned. But we whip through that. Great. That's got you the stone you need. You can also demolish forests that are in your way. But unlike trees that woodcutters cut down, forests that you demolish won't grow back. Try to demolish as few as you can to make space for building. Useful tip. When you're laying new roads or demolishing stuff, you can click and drag to create a long road or demolish an area. It saves a heap of time. All right. So we have got to just wait for the explorer's hut and the library to finish. And then also, I am going to make the executive decision to go ahead and demolish this forest, as I don't think I'm going to be using it, and also this forest, as it restricts this sort of peninsula. Has very Settlers of Catan vibe. For me, it was kind of like laying out cities and Civilization. How you have to build cities on hex tile. This reminds me very much of a Civilization series. That's just my 2 cents. Alright, so the Explorer's Hut is done. And what this Explorer's Hut does is it gathers technology from the scrap and turns it into research. Hey, Miss Diva Minka. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you found us. Because although I would like to be able to take the credit for the calm and positive vibes, honestly, that's all you guys. You do that. Establish village. Now that your village is set up, it's time to think about a bigger goal, exploring the world on a ship. You're going to need more tools to build your ship, among other things. There is ancient metal device nearby, according to legend, can turn one thing into another. Perhaps it can help. So this is a transmogrifier. The transmogrifier somehow magically turns wood into tools. For me to use the transmogrifier, I will have to build a road adjacent. And then I will have to collect the wood, which currently I don't have, but we will deliver it, and then turn that into tools. And if you're wondering, my resources are up here. So you can see my wood, tools, stone. And then if you're curious about the research that I have, currently it is basically none, but if we open up the research tree here, you can see that I have accumulated 0 green research so far, but it will go up over time. Destroy Roy, thanks for the resub. And Miss White Paws, thanks for the sub. Welcome all. Yoda wants to say thank you, or rather, something. There you go, bud. So here's a... No, that's not the explorer. So here's a explorer who's going to gather the scrap for green research and then return back to the explorer's hut. So if you're curious, all of the workers that work, they don't simulate their work, they actually physically do it. So here are people that are turning tree trunks into boards, into wood, rather. The farmers farming potatoes. The library collecting green research. Now we're up to 7. It's not enough to actually do anything with it, not yet. And then, of course, the amount of wood that we need to turn into tools. We're currently delivering it, but it takes a bit of time. Another thing that I'm sure you can see is that the world here is covered in ruins. So not only are there piles of ancient technology, there are rusting hulks and mountains of stone and just ancient buildings. I will also say that your starting island does not have all the resources you will need. So much like, I would say, an Anno series, if you've ever played an Anno series, you will be at some point required to leave your starting island and create trade lanes to other islands in order to acquire the resources that you need, like other types of research. The music seems mellow. Yeah, it is a non-combat game. So everything is much more calm than a lot of the other 4Xs I play. Learning ancient knowledge. It's time to hit the books. Now that your peeps have access to the library you just built, they'll need to research how to gather stone and other minerals that can't repair the ship without them. Alright, but first, you should check out the game speed controls. In the top left of the screen, are buttons you can use to pause or speed up time. Have a go with them now. So 1x, 2x, 4x, and pause. Learning ancient knowledge. Stone is an important resource and needs to be mined from the mountains up on top of the high ground. But first you will need to research it. Research elevators and then build one against the cliff. So if you take a look over here, there is no way to get up to these plateaus without some additional research. And it wants me to research elevators. A strange first research for a brand new society, but you know, that's where it will do. So there it is. 5 of my green research consumed to unlock elevators. And now with the elevators unlocked, I'm going to have to decide where I put the elevators, and I'm going to put the elevator right here. Where's my elevators? Oh, yes. No, they actually have to research it first. That's right. So now we have the researchers, 2 of them, and they're happy, so they're a little bit more productive, and they're working to unlock elevators. And we're done. Construct an elevator against the cliff. When placing your elevator, you might want to, put it somewhere that will give you access to a decent amount of space on the high ground. And it will also give you access to the mountain and the rusty hulks on top. So it needs to be constructed next to a road, so don't forget to place the road. And if we need more tools, we can transmogrify more tools. There we are. That is where I'm going to put the elevator. Now, the basic roads that you can build here are free. There's no penalty. So I am laying down a whole bunch of roads. The rusting hulks give you iron ore. And this mountain, they call it mountains, but obviously they're like concrete buildings. They give you stone. Now that you can reach the highlands, you need to work out how to get your peeps to mine that stone. So let's go to the library and research mining. Hey, Sajuka. Welcome to the stream. Cheers. You can see all the tutorial message and tasks in the tutorial log, which is in the pause menu, which is here, tutorial log. Little happy reminder, and here is the notification log that you can click here. You can also track how people are doing with this UI up here. So not just population and resources, but also happiness, how many people are idle, how many workplaces are empty, food and water. I don't have clothes yet, but then we can also track tree trunks and wood and stone and tools, and then research, and then lastly, what kind of island we're on and what benefits this island has. Is there a place to see how much each farm will feed? Yeah, sort of. You do have to sort of do the math yourself of what your food per minute and consumption per minute would be. I'll get to that in a minute. Time to build your stone quarry. Important. The stone quarry must be placed next to a mountain and also next to a road. You may need to construct a road from your elevator over to the mountain you want to mine from. The quarry is also a building that pollutes its local area. Pollution affects how happy your peeps are and how efficiently they work. Choose where you place buildings that produce pollution wisely. So if you take a look here, if I create one more road here and I put a mine right next to 3 of these mountains, it will have an inherent bonus of additional production sped up because it's next to a bunch of mountains. It only needs to be next to 2, but I chose 3. Doesn't hurt. And we'll get that done. So if you mouse over your population here, or your food, you can kind of see if your food is going up or down. So there's probably a ratio to figure out, you know, how many farms you need for how many people, but it also depends on the crops you're growing and bonuses and the mood of your people, and there's a lot of other factors in play that make it a little bit more complicated than just simply saying like a 1-to-3 ratio or 1-to-4 ratio or something like that. Okay, I'm going to put another woodcutter down, and this woodcutter is going to be next to 2 forests. There's a little bit of a benefit there. Did you know that forests will slowly remove pollution from tiles next to them? Don't forget to use the transmogrifier to make more tools. And it's telling me to make more tools now. Now that your peeps are mining stone, you're well on your way to setting sail and discovering unseen lands. To find them, you'll need to repair ancient devices to make that old ship on the coast seaworthy. Alright, let's queue up another transmogrifying of tools. And then if you select the ruined ship here, you can see what we need. So it needs to be besides a road, which is now true. It needs to have 28 wood, 28 tools, 10 stone, food, water, and that will be the start of what we need to get set. Research repair at the library. So repair is here. And we'll get that going. So until you have research repair, you're not going to be able to repair a ruined ship. But here, as you can see, our lovely little mine where they're going to work. Our starting mini island. So I did add another woodcutter, and the reason for the second woodcutter is to keep up with wood demand. And in fact, I might even demolish my old woodcutter. Yes, I do. And then place it one more tile to the right to benefit from the double forest, because this just increases the amount of wood storage that I can store, because I have a limited amount of storage. And Oz, thanks for the resub. Welcome. Research is now researched. Make tools. Excellent. Repairing the ship is going to take a lot of peeps and resources. Increase the population of your village to support the work that needs to be done. And then this reminder says, did you know that your buildings can get bonuses and penalties from what they're next to you? For instance, huts placed next to other huts can accommodate more peeps, but a well placed next to a hut will produce water more slowly. Words. Yes, so you have to be careful about the synergy between buildings, and that's another sort of complicated bit of this game. In the preview information, when you're placing a building, you can see all the potential bonuses and the specific bonuses for the buildings that are listed if you click on the constructed building. So, this building, this house, for instance, has extra living space because it is next to 2 homes. And then if I placed, let's say, I wanted to expand my population a little bit, and I placed a home here, right? It would also then benefit this home too. All 3 of these homes would have adjacency bonuses. This home would not. Alright, expand my village to support 25 peeps is the current goal. And then another thing I'm going to need to do, if I'm doing that, is to make sure that I'm feeding everybody. So there is some more potato fields, because I don't want to starve. And then let's also throw down another well. I'll put the well... I'll put it here for now. I can always remove it if I want. And very, very quickly, these houses are filling up with population. Alright, let's create another micro neighborhood. 1, 2, 3. And Sujuka, thanks for the resub. You've been watching for ages. Well, I appreciate that you're here and you're hanging out. So much like all non or low combat 4X games, for instance, I recently played Banished, which was another 4X or I guess 3X game that doesn't have combat. One of the biggest struggles that you're going to have is resource scarcity, namely food. Banished, of course, has a huge scarcity of food. So when you expand your population, you really have to make sure that you have the farms to supply and the water to supply. Because if you don't, well, you're gonna have a real bad time. But now, as you can see, my island here can support up to 27 because of all the lovely adjacency bonuses that I have of these homes. Putting them in a cluster of 3 or 4, or however many, is a really good way to have more housing for less tiles. And our population is now going up to 20. But if we take a look here, I'm sure I have a lot of idle workers. Yes, I have 7 idle workers. Now, having a lot of idle workers isn't necessarily a terrible thing because one of the benefits of a lot of idle workers is that they're happier. But I am going to have to make sure that I supply the food and water that they need, or I'm going to suffer some, unfortunate penalties. All right, let's go ahead and place another woodcutter here, taking advantage of the 2 adjacent forests, because I am burning through my wood supply, transmogrifying myself some tools. And it's telling me to make tools yet again. Wow, your peeps are accumulating a lot of stuff. Let's research and build a warehouse to store the surplus resources in. So here's warehouse. Whoosh. More transmogrifying. This well does draw more slowly because of accommodations nearby, yes. Yeah. And then if you take a look, let me pause for just a second. If you take a look at the adjacency bonuses, you can sort of see, what penalties you're going to have. Now, I'm not that worried about that. Just not yet, because it's pretty easy to supply water for 27 people. It wants me to construct a warehouse. I forgot how to rotate this. So I don't want to put, I want to put it somewhere where it's not going to take up a heck of a lot of space. Come on. Oh, it needs to face a road. I see, I see. All right, let's go ahead and... I'll just put it anywhere for now. I don't like that spot. I don't have a lot of good spots. I could do there. Alright. As soon as the transmogrifier is ready to go, we will make some more tools. Why not up on the mountain? Yeah, I could put it up on the mountain. Sure, why not? Let's do that. I don't have strong feelings one way or another. Now, the only problem of putting it up on the mountain is I think I'm going to want, for future mining, I'm going to want a clear path to get next to this rusting hulk. So I put the roads down in preparation for that. Which leaves me... I'll put it here. I'll bulldoze this stone and put the warehouse right in this location. There we go. I like this song. I'm gonna turn it up. Not that obvious. Thanks for the resub as well. Woo! So we have everything delivered to the warehouse. Only a matter of time until that next tooltip is done. There we go. 5 more tools. Our wood supply is looking good. And we just need to work on power and tools and wood. So make tools. Again, choose which resource you want to store in your warehouse. Warehouses have a limited space. The more types of resources you store, the less space there will be for each type. So if we pick here, we can say, hey, in here, let's put the construction materials. You're so close to repairing the ship, you'll need a better source of tools than a transmagrifier. Time to find some iron in the Highlands. And it wants me to research metalwork and build an iron mine next to the Rusty Hulk. So here's metalwork. And I have a very close rusty Hulk, or rusting Hulk, ready to go. Definite benefit of this seed. Taking a look at my food and water. Food and water has been going up, which is good. And then, yeah, that's pretty much the only resource I need to carefully watch for now. Hey, Toku! It has been a while. What a satisfyingly small planet we have here. Yes, it's tiny. It is tiny. So Toku is another streamer, a voice actor, and more. And if you want to watch or listen to a streamer who has a professional quality setup, head on over to Toku's stream and follow. Heck, even subscribe. Build an iron mine next to a rusting Hulk. All right, can do. So, one of the things we have to keep in mind here. See this iron mine? This iron mine, of course, will produce pollution, which means no one's going to want to live in the lowlands west of this mine. And then it causes gloom, so people don't like to be near it. So we got to consider where we're placing these things, because of course we don't want a miserable population. That would be bad. Here's our little reminder. Do you know that that on the card for a selected building, you can use controls near the top to change its priority for getting resources, workers, etc. So what this is telling you to do is you can say whether it's low, normal, or high priority. So if you are trying to urgently build something, let's say you are having a food or water shortage, you could of course make your farms urgent or high priority, and that way you don't starve or dehydrate, etc., etc. The forest next to this will very, very, very slowly help to remove pollution. Yes. So there are 3 forests next to it. So it's actually a really perfect spot because there's all these adjacency forests that will remove pollution. But since this is only a very basic iron mine, it's not going to produce a crazy amount of pollution anyway. It's more when you get late game and you have high-tech industries that make a lot of pollution. Process the iron into tools. You'll need an iron smelter and a toolsmith. They're special buildings that require power. Unfortunately, your peeps have found, or rather, fortunately, your peeps have found an old generator near town. Repair the ruined generator, then build your iron smelter and toolsmith. So here is the old generator. It only costs 2 boards, or 2 wood and 2 tools to repair, so no problem. That's inexpensive. And we'll get that repaired up, and then we will build the iron smelter and toolsmith. And this reminder says, on the card of the building that requires workers, you can click the little padlock underneath to lock slots. So what that means is if you don't want 2 people working, let's say in the library, you could click this padlock right here and lock the slot so that only 1 person works in the library. Like that. Of course, there is a massive penalty for not being fully staffed, but, you know, if you're having staffing problems, that would be a pretty good way to organize your populace and their work priorities. Alright, looks like my water, I'll have to keep an eye on my water. Looks like it's decreasing, but I'm not that worried about it just yet. Alright, here we go. The rune generator is getting done. Beautiful. I think I paused. So now it wants me to construct an iron smelter and a toolsmith. So the iron smelter. Now, if you take a look at the iron smelter, as you can see, it has a massive pollution radius. And then also it will, if you take a look here, it produces pretty heavy pollution. It has a loss of happiness when people work there, and it does cause gloom. I'm going to put it here because it seems to be nicely nestled away from where most people live. And then the toolsmith here, again, has a similar pollution effect, and I'm going to put it also up on the highlands, trying to keep the pollution away from where people live. The soundtrack is nice on your brain. Yeah, I know. I would say it's always really pleasant when small indie titles such as this one have wonderful soundtracks, because that's something that I feel like a lot of games neglect, and it can definitely make some games unplayable where you'll essentially have to mute the soundtrack to even want to play it. And I've definitely played games like that where the original soundtrack was just so atrocious. Covering your ears was the best thing that you could do. Now this generator here, one thing to note, it does, it will cause lots of gloom in the adjacent area, and I can't really choose to move it. So we're sort of stuck where it is. Fortunately, it's not where the houses are, but it is where the farms are. So the people that work at the farms will be slightly less happy than they would have otherwise. Information. For a small village, there's a lot happening here. Let's look at what's available to manage your settlements and peeps effectively. Click on the Island Details button. It's the big green one. Alright, one thing I'd like to do is to name my island after one of you guys. So if you type something in the general chat, I'm going to be naming the island and the planet after subscribers. So feel free to, you know, make yourself eligible. This panel has a whole lot of information for you to explore as you need it. So essentially this is just charts, right? It's the, so JD, to answer you earlier, the supply and demand of food, these supply and demand of drinks, of research. Well, there's really not ever demand for research, but the supply of research, of processed goods, and so on. And then for peeps, this will also tell you, how happy they are and other details like that. Let me pause. So what jobs they have and their happiness, you can center on them. You can see their happiness charts. And then, of course, buildings, the different buildings and variety of buildings that you have, what resources they have, et cetera, et cetera. It goes into a lot of detail. Another thing that you can do is view a variety of overlays that show information directly on the planet. So let's go through the overlays now. So there is the resource storage overlay. Oh, it's going to co-op me. Excellent. There's all sorts of information in here about how pollution is spreading across your islands, how happy your peeps are, how resources are flowing, and more. So here's research storage, where we have some different storage here. One of the things I don't have is I don't have storage for drinks and water. I might want to add that at some point. We have got... this is sort of how efficient things are. So this well is inefficient. This transmogrifier is inefficient. But as you can see, so there's sort of low efficiency across everything here. Oh well. The occupancy of elevators, the general happiness. So as you can see, the unhappy buildings are up here, the industry buildings up top, and of course the ruined ship. This is the pollution overlay, where the worst pollution is and where minor pollution is, so you can kind of see what pollution looks like. And as you can see, the generator is generating bad pollution. And then this overlay is what types of buildings that you have built. And then island 1, and then if we had other islands, it would show you. So let's go ahead and name said island and planet now. Oh, well, no, it's going to force me to do something else. Finally, you can view detailed information about individual resources and how they're allocated at the top bar. Let's look at tools. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be naming my island. My island is going to be named Dragon Slayer, dude. Okay. And then the planet. The Toxic Moxie. Oh, that seems fitting, given I am polluting it a lot. The Toxic Moxie planet. All right. So it wants to have me click here and then see how I allocate my tools. This is showing you a whole lot of things. You've got a line showing how many of the resources you've got available for use on the island out of the maximum that you can store. A line showing how many of the resources are allocated for each use, such as in construction or producing other resources. Actions you could take. You can turn on the resource flow and resource storage overlays for this resource. I know this is this might be melting your brain a little bit, but I'll try to make it make sense in a bit. If you click on any of the graph lines, it will take you to each building on the island that section applies to. In turn, each time you click, small slider, the small slider underneath the available line allows you to set an amount that is reserved for shipping and construction. This is really useful if you got a resource that your peeps keep using up when you're trying to ship it off to another island or to keep it for building something else. Basically, you can reserve it. Try them out. You can close this display on clipping on them. Okay, yep. So what this would be is it's essentially saying I am going to reserve X amount, right? So my ship here, if I take a look at the ship, my ship requires 28 tools. So I can say, hey, you know what? Don't use any tools until I have at least 28. Just stop. And we would reserve 28 tools, and we're not going to use anything until we have more than 28, and we can store up to 68. And the same is true of really all other resources. Now, I'm not going to reserve anything for right now because I don't want to artificially restrict my building trying to save up for tools. I will be producing tools as fast as I can. Happiness. Your peeps are becoming unhappy. They're working hard and dealing with pollution from some of your buildings. Unhappy peeps will move and work more slowly, so it's definitely worth keeping their spirits up. As well as looking at the peep detail panel, like you just saw, you can also check the happiness of a single peep by clicking on them, and then the small happiness graph at the bottom of their card. So like, nope. Let me click the peep. There we are, like this. And here we go. We can see their happiness. One way to help your peeps stay happy is to give them better food and drink. Let's plant some vegetables and grow some tea. Later on, you'll be able to grow orchards, but they need different climate than this island has. So plant 2 vegetable fields, plant 2 tea fields. One thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to essentially commandeer the old potato fields and turn them into vegetable and tea fields. So let's do that. But first, let's research gardening. It's a little weird that I'm putting all my fields next to potato, or all my fields next to the wood generator, but we'll try to get rid of the wood generator as fast as we can. Sky Collective, thanks for not only the resub, but gifting out a sub to Toku. Cheers, Sky. There we go. Hey, we've made the first iron. So, what iron would require is that the iron mine up iron, the iron goes to the smelter, and then eventually we will make our first tool once this toolsmith has power and iron. Gardening is about 2/3 researched, and there's an empty slot for another researcher here, so I'm going to high prioritize the library just so that we can get it quicker. And we just made our first tool with the toolsmith here, so we're no longer reliant on turning wood into tools inefficiently. Now we can actually do the industrial process, which is nice. Okay, gardening is now done. Let's put... Oops, that's not what I meant to do. We want 2 tea and 2 vegetable. There we go. Game is visually pleasing? Yeah. Definitely. Peeps' happiness can be affected by their environment. Larger buildings project gloom around them that make peeps walking by unhappy, but peeps walking near unpolluted empty spaces or forests will get a wilderness bonus to their happiness. So here would be a wilderness bonus, right? Nice wilderness. And then if we take a look at someone near the gloom machine, well, Hazan here has not... Here we go. Nope, still has the wilderness bonus. But needless to say, this thing is projecting... Actually, this might not be projecting gloom, but this does. So let's find someone next to this building. Here we go. Hard work and gloom. There it is. We gotta be careful about that. It does look like I'm running low on manual labor, we don't have anyone idle, and we have 4 empty posts. So one of the things I might want to do is expand my population a little bit, but I'm not going to do that until these farms get done, because I don't want to jump the gun and then have food shortages, because that would be really bad. Alright, finally, you have everything you need to repair the old ship. Well, no, that's not true. I don't have the tools, but soon. One more house right here. And my first tea and first vegetable has been made. So here, as you can see, there's some bonuses. There's a whole bunch of bonuses, actually. There's a adjacency bonus of wells. There's adjacency bonus of other fields. And all those bonuses are adding up and making these 4 fields a little bit more efficient than they would have otherwise been. Alright, I'm going to start to repair this ship, but I'm going to set it as a low priority, just so that it's the last thing that we do, not to pull people away from regular industries, because I do still... Oh boy. I do still want the toolsmith to be making tools and the miner to mining and all that stuff. So this is the lowest priority. Yep. Let's take a look at the pollution overlay. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But hey, it's gonna get worse. What's the wells adjacency bonus? Sure, let me show you that. So a well here, if it's next to an accommodation, it slows down production. If it's next to cow or sheep farms, it's slowed as well. If it's in pollution, it's slowed. So this well here in the pollution radius of the generator does have a lower efficiency here. But it is the reason I placed these wells, and of course both of these wells in fact are next to the wood generator, but because they are next to the farms benefit, the wells don't. As long as my water's okay, that shouldn't be an issue. And then the building changes water amounts if it rains, essentially. Actually, it's saying that there's no pollution here and no pollution here. So despite the fact that the pollution overlay shows that there's going to eventually be pollution here, it hasn't built up to the point where it is polluting. It's only slightly polluted next to the wood generator, and there's no pollution yet around it, as you can see. So these wells are not yet suffering the pollution penalties of being near the wood generator. They will at some point if that pollution is left unchecked, but there's time. This, are you wondering what this is? So this is a transmogrifier that turns wood into tools. And this here, this shelter is, I guess, a cloner, and also a very, very slow food generator. Food and water. It's essentially your protection from, like, failing completely. You can never really lose because the shelter always provides a little bit. Another thing that I think I could benefit from is a warehouse of food and water. So I'm going to build a warehouse next to these houses. And I'm going to put another well here to try to... Actually, no. That is a terrible idea because it's next to a house too close. I want to start storing food and water in this warehouse. As you can see, the ship here has been supplied with everything, so now it's just gotten to a point where we need to physically repair it. There is different biomes, yes. You'll see that once I get there. Alright, taking a look at my food. Oh, not that much information. Well, it doesn't hurt. So it looks like my food and drink not heading in the right direction. So let me... put a potato field there. And let's do a vegetable and... Actually, scratch that. Let's do vegetable and potato next to one another. Leaving this empty, because I think what I'm going to end up doing here in this spot is placing a second elevator so that we can access up and down more quickly. Because only one person can use the elevator at a time, and that will speed up the queue for the elevator. Alright, this warehouse here is going to be for food and water. And then this warehouse is going to open itself up to raw materials and iron as well. No, forget the raw materials. Actually, no, include them. But I am going to be over capacity for a bit. But we're using up resources as fast as I can. No, another one of the problems is that this brand new ruined ship is going to require a bunch of food and water, which is why my food and water for everywhere else is essentially tanked. Tanked is a strong word, but I think you know what I mean. I'm going to put a well here to try to feed the warehouse. And I'm going to call this the food warehouse. And this will be the... storage warehouse. Very creative stuff. This warehouse, no, it does not slow down the well. Only accommodations, pollution, and animal farms do. Okay, ship is almost done. Almost done. Your peeps are sailing again, and they have so much to explore and learn. Try colonizing a new island and seeing what else is out there to discover. Select your ship, and then left-click where you want it to move. You can even click out in the empty space and move there. Once you find an island you might want to settle on, move your ship next to it, and colonize, and you'll start a new town. So here's my lovely little ship here. And this ship is going to be called the Squeaky Dink. And I'm going to start exploring. I don't necessarily need to commit to colonizing anything immediately. So this should remind you of, I guess, civilization again. Because, I don't know, it does for me. Well, let's start sailing off to nowhere. And then while we do that, I do have a food shortage, so I want to address that. One of the things I can do is to go to all of my farm fields and highly prioritize it compared to other workplaces so that people work at it. As definitely. Okay. The air shimmers from the heat. Your ship has discovered a new island, but there's no lush grass to be found. It's desert as far as the eye can see. You've heard that ancient humans once buried treasures in places like this, but you doubt any remains. You can grow nearly anything here, but only on fertile green tiles. Ooh, look at that. And then peeps that travel too far from the village will get fatigued because it's hot. So as you can see, this is a brand new biome. This is the desert biome. And I am just trying to navigate around it. So this is a ruined spaceship. And then this is some red ancient technology. Are there poles? I'm not sure. So let's just circumnavigate this island so we know its dimensions. It's a big one. This island is pretty large. Holy cow, it's a big one. Thank you for watching Before We Leave, which originally aired live on Twitch. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com, the link can be found in the description, has my countdown timers to upcoming stream and my schedule. Thank you for watching. I will catch you next episode or perhaps an upcoming stream. Farewell.